In the Factor follow-up segment tonight, more undercover tapes released tonight from the pro-life group Live Action. They show some Planned Parenthood workers in Virginia giving advice to a man posing as a pimp and asking about getting contraception, STD testing for underage sex workers.
I work in sex work. Now, some of them don't really speak that good at English, and they're kind of young. They're like 14, 15. That's just some of them know. How can they get help if they need, like, possibly an abortion?
Okay. In the state of Virginia,
yeah.
from the age of 12
yeah.
up, for birth control, you can just come in and do that.
Just come in and do it.
You don't have to have a parent, okay? Now, for an abortion, though, you have to have a parent up to the age of 18.
Once again, we invited Planned Parenthood on the show. Once again, they declined, but did send us a statement saying their workers in these latest tapes were acting professionally and that the staffers notified their supervisors. Joining us now from Omaha, a supporter of Planned Parenthood, political strategist Jane Fleming-Kleb. Jane, I've been watching all this stuff and these tapes coming out and so forth, and I'm trying to look at it tonight not as a pro-life person, but as a mom. And I know you have daughters, I have a daughter, and I'm trying to think of it this way. If, heaven forbid, something should happen, my daughter was abducted, ends up with some freak like a pimp or some sex trafficker, ends up trying to get her some STD advice or medical treatment at a Planned Parenthood clinic, you know what I want that Planned Parenthood worker to do? Stop the conversation, immediately notify authorities, instantaneously, not after the fact, but right away. That didn't happen here.
Well, you know, as a mom, I totally agree with you. But the fact of the matter is in Virginia, the Planned Parenthood worker didn't break any laws. Now, I think that this is something that the pro-life and pro-choice community can actually come to the table together. And I know a lot of faith leaders are trying to make them work at a national level to make sure that we have more prevention, more common sense laws in place, because no 12-year-old, no 14-year-old should be able to go to Planned Parenthood and essentially get birth control without their parents knowing. I think, you know, most Americans would agree with that.
Well, but do you find it in looking at the totality of these tapes, and we understand that 4 new tapes are going to be coming out, I think, within the next week across the country. You don't have a problem with the fact that in these tapes, these Planned Parenthood workers just give this kind of rote advice to this pimp, and in one case, another woman was with him, and don't seem to be raising any red flags at all. Now, Planned Parenthood said, well, we reported this to our national Planned Parenthood security group, and then they wrote a letter in January to Eric Holder, but it seems like their focus was on Lila Rose and the Live Action people more than on the fact that there could have been people sex trafficking in our clinics, looking for advice in our clinics. Just seems like the emphasis is demonizing the Lila Rose folks who, in my mind, should get the Pulitzer for this.
Well, I think there's a couple things. One, Planned Parenthood has been working with the FBI and the local authorities to make sure, and they reported all this because some of them actually did think that it was part of an established sex ring. And so
No, Jane, I've got to stop you there. They did not report all this. That is absolutely not true. They did not report things in a meaningful way, which means contemporaneously with the action. If some guy comes into my office, says, we have this business going on with these 14 and 15-year-old girls, that guy, first of all, isn't leaving my office. Okay, he's not talking to me for 10 minutes. I am like, excuse me, I just got a call. Let me be right back. I'm in there right now with local authorities immediately, not after the fact. We have little girls being sex trafficked, little girls, and we're sitting here saying, well, they did write a letter, and they did, they are reporting this. The Roanoke office is the only office so far, maybe there are others will come up later, that contemporaneously reported this to local authorities that could have stopped these people if obviously this was not a sting and these were real people. That's disturbing to me.
Absolutely. Look, I completely agree with you, and I think the workers at Planned Parenthood would agree with you, and I think that these tapes are part of an orchestrated event that some pro-life groups are doing with the Republican Party in order to try to move forward this bill that Representative Pence is trying to get passed. Now,
is there any evidence Republican Party and Lila Rose, what's that connection? Where are you getting that? I've never seen anything on that.
Well, first
that
of
must
all,
be new.
First of all, the exposed PlannedParenthood.com website was essentially created by the same PR firm that the Republican National Committee and that two Republican top other
That's really
Republican
lame logic, by the way,
created.
because a PR firm worked for one group and worked for another. So they're all in this together.
This is the logic. That
if only the Republican Party were this
smart. Can I get a word in here? That the Republicans had power for 8 years. If they wanted to defund Planned Parenthood or make abortion illegal, they had 8 years to do that.
Little
this is
girls.
Another empty promise by the Republican Party to the pro-life. No, you can continue to bring that up, Laura. Nobody in this country thinks that little girls should be
Planned Parenthood is attacking Lila Rose. Planned Parenthood should be firing all these people, not making excuses for clinic workers who sit there with a straight face and listen to this stuff. They should be shut down immediately.
Laura,
this idea that, oh, this is about the Republican Party. This is about little girls and Planned Parenthood making an enormous amount of money off of the abortion procedure and giving advice, it looks like, to underage women.
No, this is about the pro-life and pro-choice community should actually come together.
Yeah.
Well, pro-life and pro-choice community should actually come together and make sure that common sense laws are in place. And you should stop assuming that Planned Parenthood wants to sex traffic little girls.
I have a common sense idea. Why doesn't Planned Parenthood make its own money the right way, not off the taxpayers with $300 million? They make $210 million approximately off of abortions in the United States. That's a record that they, I bet they can be proud of.
Like breast.
$200 million
they can
on
be proud
abortion.
that they prevent
$200 million.
Yes, well, Planned Parenthood could be proud that they prevent breast cancer and other preventive.
40 million gone because of abortion. Jane, I appreciate it. Straight ahead.